There is a bow no man could string. Those who tried came back broken, or didn't return at all. But one boy believed the bow was not waiting for strength. It was waiting for him to change. In the time before the veil fell over the eastern passes, there lived a youth named Taren, born of the blood of Lorik the Shamed. His was a village pressed against the boundary of wilderness, where the wind carried more than sand. It carried memory, and memory there was seldom kind. Lorik had once been a figure of promise, commander, strategist, son of fire. But in a fated hour he turned back from a charge that never came, and with that turning came fire upon the innocent. He spoke no defense, and none was asked. From that day forward he wore no sword and cast no shadow. The people of the village learned to look through him. His son did not. Taran grew in that silence, shaped by the hollow where a father's name should have been. He trained with stones and sticks, not out of joy but necessity. He ran farther than the others, and when they rested, he ran again. He did not speak of honor. He simply starved for it. The tales of the bow came in fragments, spoken low, carried from traders and madmen. A relic, they said, curved beyond the limits of mortal strength, resting in a place where maps ended. Not a weapon, but a verdict. Many had gone to find it. Few returned. Those who did came back, changed, or broken. It was in the third spring of the drought that the signs came. A herder claimed to see light on the eastern ridge at dusk. A pale blue shimmer, gone by nightfall. A boy found featherless birds circling above the old trail. An elder spoke in his sleep the words, "Now is the bending." Taran made no declaration. At dusk he gathered bread and water, a length of sinew, and the walking staff his father had once carved and never spoke of. He passed quietly through the village gate before the stars rose. No one called out, but those who saw him go did not forget. The journey to the sanctuary was not marked by distance, but by shedding. First came the land, its slow strip of familiar trees, the crumbling terraces where olive roots clung to stone. Then came the silence, thick and metallic. Then hunger, then solitude, then the first forgetting. When he reached the ruins, they were smaller than he'd imagined. No spires, no domes, only a half-fallen arch and a courtyard of wind-scoured bones. And there, set upon a stone pedestal smoothed by centuries of reaching hands, was the bow. It was simple, silent, waiting. He stepped forward. He reached for the string, and the bow did not move. He tried on the first day. He failed on the first day. The bow would not bend, not to strength, nor to leverage, nor to anger. His fingers blistered. The sinew snapped twice, each time recoiling against his cheek like a reprimand. He tasted blood before the sun had set. He set camp in the hollow behind the sanctuary wall, beneath the broken arch. Wind found him there, thin and biting. He did not sleep that night. He stared at the bow beneath the stars as if endurance could soften it. The second attempt came with ritual. He fasted that day and until the noon sun of the next. He placed his hands slowly, deliberately, murmured a childhood prayer he had not spoken in years. The bow remained unchanged. The curve would not give. His palms quivered. His heart was swollen with shame. By the fifth day, others had arrived. There was an old man with 7 scars on his forearm. He nodded to Taran once, then tried to string the bough with hands like rope. He screamed before he finished, collapsing in a heap. He left the next morning without a word. There was a girl no older than 12 who sat cross-legged before the bough for hours. She never touched it. On the third day she vanished. Whether she left or was taken by the hills, no one could say. Then came the man in the red cloak. Broad-shouldered, loud, surrounded by followers who carried wine and meat. He laughed when he saw the bow. "It's a trick," he said, "a lie for the weak." He tried to break it across his knee. His bitter scream was heard for miles. His followers carried him out by torchlight, silent. Taran watched them all. He no longer attempted the bow. He fetched water from a spring 3 miles down valley. He mended his shoes with fiber stripped from his belt. He grew thin, his hair tangled. The hunger taught him things that instruction never had. On the 29th day, he buried a man whose name he never learned. On the 30th, he wept. He did not know why. Nothing had changed. The bough remained untouched. But the tears came anyway, slow, quiet, unwilling, not for pain, not even for failure, something deeper, recognition. He was no longer trying to be his father's opposite. He no longer cared to erase the stain. He could feel it now. The shame was never his. It had lived in his skin like a burrowed scorpion. Now it was leaving. That night the wind died. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full. He sat before the bough in the dark, hands resting on his knees. He breathed in. He breathed out. No ambition stirred, no fear, no demand, only the quiet rhythm of something truer than will. He rose at dawn. The light came slowly, golden at first, then pale. He approached the pedestal. His fingers closed around the horn tips, not with force, but certainty. The bow did not resist. Its limbs groaned, not in protest, but like old wood waking from sleep. He anchored the lower end, drew the sinew upward, steady, patient, not trembling. The bow curved like a question made whole. And then the string slid into place. No flash, no thunder. Only the quiet click of tension made perfect. It felt to him as though the bow had strung itself, but he knew he had become the one who could. He did not rush his return. There were no horns at his back, no companions beside him. Only the bow slung in silence across his shoulders, wrapped in cloth the color of ash. Each step away from the sanctuary felt lighter than the one before, not because the burden had lessened, but because he no longer mistook it for weight. The path west had not changed, the same dry gullies, the same thorn trees. But where once he had seen hardship, he now saw shape, patterns in the rock, harmony in the erosion. Even the wind no longer howled, it sang. When he crossed the ridge overlooking Iskar, he paused. The village looked smaller than he remembered, not poorer, just smaller. The roofs leaned as they always had. The smoke curled from the same chimneys. But he no longer saw a world that expected payment for a debt he could never pay. He entered without ceremony. The children stared, wide-eyed and whispering. The elders nodded, though none met his gaze for long. The bow, wrapped and silent, was fanfare enough. He passed the orchard where his father had once worked, gnarled stumps, cracked soil, empty. Taran found the house just as he had left it. The door creaked the same. His mother stood at the hearth, older by decades, though only months had passed. She did not ask. He did not explain. That night they ate in silence with a peace neither of them had known for decades. In the days that followed, Taran spoke little. When asked, he said only, "The bow bends for what bends first inside you." Some asked to see it. He refused gently. A few of the young men mocked him behind his back, said he'd found nothing, or worse, brought back a curse. He didn't mind. He was not their answer. But not all mocked. A boy of about 15 began watching him, at the well, in the fields, along the ridge. He asked no questions, but he listened with his eyes. Taran recognized the hunger, not for glory, for truth. One morning, Taran handed the boy a walking staff carved from elder wood. "If you ever reach the sanctuary," he said, "walk slower the closer you get." He did not explain what that meant. Weeks later, the warning fires were lit. Riders from the south, bandits, perhaps, or worse. The village panicked. The elders called for arms. They asked Taran to lead. He declined. "I will go," he said, "but not to fight." He stood in the field at dawn, alone, wrapped bow at his back. The riders saw him and laughed. They circled close, blades drawn. Their leader dismounted, approached, spit at his feet. Taran unwrapped the bow. He strung it with the calm of someone lighting a lamp. One arrow he knocked, one arrow he loosed. It struck the ground before the leader's boot. Not an inch too close, not an inch too far. A warning drawn not with blood, but with silence. The riders left. That evening he unstrung the bow and wrapped it again. He placed it in the alcove outside the village wall beneath stone and cedar, where the sun could find it at dusk. Not hidden, not displayed. A mark of what had been overcome. He did not call it sacred. He did not teach others to venerate it. He simply said, "The bow is still there, but it no longer waits for me.